Crondall Energy is an international and UK-based consultancy, but in a sense it's a unique consultancy because it does things that not everybody does in combination. Well, the group managing director is Duncan Peace, and he joins me now. In a sense, you are in a very niche area, which is deep water platforms and consultancy, but you manage to cover more bases than anybody else.
Yes, I think our USP is the fact that we cover three broad areas in floating production and subsea. We cover marine technology, production facilities, and the subsea area. So I guess what we can offer to our clients is a really good understanding of those three areas, and those three areas go together to make up the key components of a floating production and subsea development.
Yeah. And of course, when you started in this business, I mean, the business started in 2001, but
Yep.
you know, in the early days of when you were telling me before, when you were a student, you worked your way through university by working on rigs, and in those days, you know, 100 meters was quite, you know, a serious challenge. Now we're talking about 1,500 meters.
Yes, the deep water, I guess what qualifies as deep water has moved on. It's it's a very movable feast in a sense. I guess when I started working in the late 70s, we thought that anything over 100 meters was really challenging. Nowadays, I guess the challenges really start to kick in once you go over 1,000 meters. But the industry has stepped up to that challenge over the last 20 years or so, and we're seeing developments in sort of beyond 2,000 and up to and approaching 3,000 meters of water. So the industry has shown itself able to develop the necessary technologies, the necessary installation techniques to operate in these water depths.
And of course it has to, because you know, you're having to get access to reserves that previously were uneconomic and now actually is running out, the North Sea is winding down. You've got to get at these reserves, which is where your three-pronged approach comes into it. But of course, in a low price environment, capital efficiency is vital. So how does what you do help companies, explorers and producers to be more efficient?
Well, one of the things that we observe on a lot of the study work we do, we do quite a lot of work on sort of value improvement engineering. And one of the things we observe is that a lot of times you look at a project and it's a little bit it's got a bit fat and bloated. But inside that fat and probably slightly over bloated project, there's a skinny project struggling to get out. And I guess what we're trying to do with working with clients is to help clients to identify that skinny, healthy and robust project to get out. And looking at the ways in which we can simplify the project, perhaps reduce the complexity, use standardization to reduce complexity and simplify the facilities. All that leads to simpler facilities and therefore greater capital efficiency.
And not just working from the bottom up, from the reserve, from the asset.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think a lot of times what we see is that the project starts with trying to maximise the value that they can extract from the reservoir, and that certainly over the last few years has driven projects to a scale which is perhaps at a level of capital intensity which is just too great for many people's appetite, many shareholders, many operators and perhaps some of their partners. So looking at ways in which you can apply some top-down discipline as well, I think helps to balance out the project and balance out what facilities you're going to use to develop the field.
Yeah, so a different model which, you know, pays dividends as well. And I suppose also investors are going to be, you know, wanting to do more with less, and in terms of, you know, the production intensity. Now there's a lot of work that you're doing which is quite innovative, and innovation is a big theme here. Tell me about that.
Well, we're working on a number of initiatives to look at ways in which we can develop facilities which will produce more with less, as you've said. The objective there is to look at ways to simplify the equipment, to reduce the weight of the facilities, look for more compact equipment. In some cases we're looking at taking equipment that's been designed for subsea and using it on floating facilities. The rationale there is that the technology that's been developed for use subsea is obviously designed to be hopefully more reliable, because it's very difficult to fix it if anything goes wrong. So it requires low maintenance. So taking that technology and using it on facilities floating facilities gives us the opportunity to simplify process and to reduce equipment count, reduce weight. So we feel that by doing that, we can then reduce the size of the floating facilities. We can also reduce manning offshore, which speaks not only to CapEx but to OpEx. So with that sort of twin-pronged approach, we can reduce CapEx and reduce OpEx, and that obviously allows investors to get more from less. And
also make sure that you're sweating the assets. I mean, investors want to make sure that the financial assets are being sweated, working, but you're actually applying similar sorts of principles to sweat the physical assets.
Yes, I think once you get the asset into production, but also at some stages during the detailed design process, you can look at ways, again, of getting a little bit more out of the asset, looking at ways to debottleneck the facility. But particularly as we move into production operations, there are ways in which we can work the asset just a little bit harder to improve production, improve availability and uptime, and then look at ways in which we can reduce OpEx as well. So there are lots of opportunities, and I guess because of the work we do around the world, we see lots of different projects in lots of different regions, lots of different jurisdictions, and it gives us a combination of an understanding of what works globally, what's best practice globally, combined with an understanding of regional factors which drive the various stakeholders in those regions. So a combination of global best practice and local understanding, I think, gives us the ability to help a lot of clients understand those challenges and come up with value-added solutions.
All right, well, thank you very much, Duncan Peace, for joining us there, the Group MD of Crondall Energy.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for inviting me.